who will be previewing our match against the New York Red Bulls at Red Bull Arena on Friday evening. Coach, it's been 2.5 weeks, almost 3. How have you been preparing? How has the team been preparing and adjusting for this game?
Well, a nice bit of mental and physical downtime, opportunity for everyone to maybe reevaluate, reflect, and look forward to what will be a very important second phase of our campaign for sure, with so many home games coming up. But taking one game at a time, always a tough encounter in New York. Extremely competitive group that they have there up at Red Bull. And I think the guys, after some very nice opportunities here to prepare a little bit longer and a little bit more thoroughly than we might normally have had, I think we'll be ready for it and certainly looking forward to it.
Thank you, Coach. We'll kick it off to media now, and we'll start with a question from Ben Wright with Sports.
Yeah, hey Gary, just a quick question about some logistics. I know obviously Yonder's with Venezuela and Copa America. Alistair and Annabelle played in World Cup qualifiers last night. What's the process for them just getting back to the team? Do they have to go through any kind of quarantine period, and do you expect them to be available this weekend?
Our mindset and our thought process was that those guys, once they'd finished their duty, were going to be part of the group, and I've no reason to suspect otherwise. Arrangements have been made, and we'll be ready to accept them back into the group. And I'll obviously monitor some of the data and the details of their exploits while they've been away, to determine what part and how much of the game they might be part of. So
we will continue with a question from Ray Hills with the Tennessean.
Yeah, good afternoon, Gary. It seems obviously there's at the discretion of the different clubs of how they went about their business as far as training is concerned throughout this break. I believe that you guys decided to maybe take training in chunks and not having a long layoff just to keep players fit, and then also to probably allow some of the players who weren't necessarily fit in the beginning to become more healthy coming out of the break. How's Daniel Rios and even Anunga as well? And maybe what have seen from you, what are some of the benefits of this training schedule and how you guys can prepare for New York Red Bulls?
Everyone goes about their business slightly differently, of course, and as you've said, I've always felt that keeping the players active as much as possible, but whilst also taking into account that we haven't had a game for the best part of 3 weeks, that we can also have some emotional downtime, as it were. I think the guys have appreciated being around friends and family for a couple of days on a couple of occasions, and I think it's suited everybody very well. As far as the work goes, it's given me an opportunity to look at 1 or 2 things that I might not normally have been able to. A plan B, a plan C, seeing players in slightly different positions, and obviously looking a little bit more focused at 1 or 2 guys that have not seen the field as much. So it's certainly been helpful to me, and I think to them. Injury-wise, Daniel Rios had a minor setback with the problem that he had, and he's going to be unavailable for the game on Friday. Brian Anunga has made great strides, and he's in a very, very good position. He won't be available for this weekend, but he's not too far away from being an addition to the group, or somebody that I can certainly select for the 20-man roster.
Before we continue, just a reminder that if you have any other questions for Coach, please alert me through the chat. And with that, we will continue with Tim Sullivan from For Club and Country.
Very obviously, Red Bull presents a very different tactical matchup than a lot of the teams in this league. How do you prepare for the press that you are expecting to see, or if you are expecting to see the press, I guess?
Well, like all clubs, they've had a little bit of time off. I'm sure they've been refreshed and ready to go again. Their home form's been very good. I think most people know that they have their own style of play, and that style can be extremely difficult to navigate, especially on their home turf. And if you're gonna have aspirations of being in the postseason or winning silverware, you've got to be prepared to adapt and to deal with each and every team that you run into. And this is no different. A lot of quality players, a lot of quality young players, and a tremendous amount of energy. And the stats tell us that, they do want to win the ball higher up the field. They do want to put you under a lot of pressure. And to that degree, it makes you think, act and work that much sharper and to be on your toes a little bit more. So, we're ready for a really tough encounter. And as I say, coming off of this break, expect it to be, I would think, at breakneck speed in the opening 15, 20 minutes of the game.
Then right with a follow-up question.
Yeah, Gary, I'm just curious about how you handled kind of this long break. Obviously, last year you guys were playing 2, sometimes 3 times a week. Now with a week off in the middle of the season, what's that like? What does kind of your training routine look like during the international break?
Well, we had the opportunity in that initial week post Atlanta with a couple of days off for the guys to, just let their bodies recover from a very tough game, and we used that first week as a more general week of work in terms of load, and looked at 1 or 2 aspects of the group that we might be able to utilise down the line, and some slightly different shapes and thoughts that may give us a go-to opportunity if needed. And it worked very nicely in that first week. They had another couple of days off, and the second block, the middle block of work, the intensity and the workload was upped, and the guys put a much bigger shift in to that middle block of work, whilst also trying to reinforce some of the aspects of our game and some of the qualities of our game. And then this week has been about preparation for New York, sharpness, speed of play, and generally being ready for a tough opening game after 3 weeks off. So the guys have been in great shape, great mental order. They look buoyant. They look, absolutely ready to go and meet the challenge. And I wouldn't have expected too much else after a very decent opening to the season and remaining unbeaten. We've got a lot to play for. And likewise, other teams have too. And we need to keep this form on track if we're to achieve, our main goal of course, being in the postseason.
Tim Sullivan with a follow-up.
Hey, Gary, obviously you guys haven't played them competitively in MLS yet, but this is kind of a different look to a Red Bull team than we're used to seeing in recent years. Aaron Long out with a long-term injury, the emergence of the young kid, Caden Clark. What have you seen out of the squad that you're going to face Friday evening?
Yeah, listen, they continually find ways to fill those gaps. Aaron Long, I'm sure, is a huge loss to the group and a very talented defender. But as I say, they've got good depth, good young depth. They've always got good young players coming through. And sadly for Aaron, he's out of the equation, but it gives one of these other guys and young guys an opportunity to show their worth. And they've shown time and time again that they've got individuals that can step up to the plate and perform very, very well. Their style changes very little. They work through that system from, their academy, through USL and into the first team, and it's drummed into them exactly what the manager and the club are after at the top level. And they perform it well. They're very committed. In the right areas, they're very talented. And when they're not in the right areas, they get to those right areas very quickly. And if they can win the ball in those areas, they like to try and do that as well. Look, you know, we've looked at lots of footage. We've prepared well. I don't think anything really gets you mentally or physically ready for a game like this until you're in the arena. And Friday night, we'll get a real taste of what they're capable of. A lot of the guys have either been there and played for the group or they've played against them. So they know exactly what this is about. But it will be a challenging match like all the away games. No different, just a slightly different format.
Dre Fields with the next question, and then we will conclude the time with Coach with Ben Wright.
Gary, you mentioned previously about just getting the time to look at how different players who have obviously contributed this season so far, that could possibly play multiple positions and maybe different assignments for you on the field. Just taking a look at some of the guys who have contributed, like Luke Hawkinson and Dylan Nealis, maybe even a Matt LaGrassa, who have either played for you, either as maybe like a Matt who's been more of like a 6 and an 8, or obviously Luke has shown that he can play in multiple positions last year with Charlotte. Obviously Dylan with Miami. Are some of those players versatile, and maybe some of the examples of who you've seen in different positions in training this week? And if not, maybe who have you thought of as versatile in that manner?
We've got a number of bodies away as well, and it's given all of those guys a bit more of an opportunity to step forward and be more of a focus in the session than maybe they have been up until this point. We've looked at a back three, what that means, what we want out of it, when we might need it. Dylan's capable of playing as a right wing back in that system and a right side centre back. We've looked at playing a 3 or 4 man midfield in that system, with Luke slightly to the right of a flatter 3 in midfield. But look, we've gone through multiple different sessions, and I've tried to offer the players a slightly different diet across the course of this international break, and I think it keeps everyone's mind fresh and alert, and it's something new to look at. And like I've said, if we need it in the future, we've already touched upon it and we've actually practically seen it. And it shouldn't take an awful lot more just to refresh everyone's mind, if indeed it comes to that. So it's been a very, very worthwhile period of time, different, but it's given us a nice lead into the next period of the season, and we're all looking forward to it for sure.
Go ahead, take us home.
Yeah, Gary, a little bit off topic, but have you been able to watch much of the Euros? And if so, who are some teams that you've maybe been impressed with?
Yeah, not bundles. Some of the games obviously are on when we're out on the training field, which is a little bit difficult. I was really impressed with the British and English group that played last week. I thought the way they went about their business and finally got the job done looked very bright. And Gareth took some chances, as we all read in the press, and they came off. And kudos to him that he's got the shape right, and he's got the very first win under his belt for, I believe, an English team in the Euros. So that's great news, starting off on a good note in front of the home fans. The game that springs to mind was the Dutch game. And, I thought they looked very bright and purposeful against a Ukraine side that, showed some tremendous resilience. But, question marks will always be raised in the early stages of the tournament. Are teams exactly where they want to be? Of course not. A victory in that opening game will give everyone a real belief and enable them to go out and maybe express themselves a little bit more as the tournament unfolds. But what you do know is I've just captured a brief glimpse of the Welsh game going on against Turkey. They'd just scored. It can be over very quickly. You know, 3 games in the group stages that can be gone in the blink of an eye. So for Turkey, I don't know if anything else has happened in that game. It could be over before it's even started for them. So it's shaping up nicely. The fact that the games are spread all around Europe is terrific. There's a lot of teams that are getting the opportunity to play in their home cities and at their home stadiums. And, you know, hopefully, certainly from our standpoint, we can continue along that very positive and confident road that we're on at the minute. It'll be a very interesting game against Scotland on Friday, as, those games can be very tasty. They can get a little bit spiteful for all the reasons you can imagine. And of course, the Scots desperately need some points on the board. Otherwise, it could be all over for them very, very quickly.
Randall, who just returned from international duty with Costa Rica. Randall, how was the trip? How do you feel coming back to the team?
Fun. Happy to be back. We didn't have the good results with the national team, but this is good for us to see what we need to work more and be ready for the World Cup.
We will now open the floor for questions. A reminder to the media to please alert me through the chat if you have a question for Randall. We will kick it off with Wes Bolin from ESPN Radio.
Hello, Randall. Welcome back. How difficult is it to change between club and international teams during a season? And how do you adjust mentally between the two different styles and situations?
I think for players, it's for players, and normally they are calling for the national team constantly. I think is not difficult, because we already
We need to get used to.
We need to get used to in this kind of teams, So it's a little bit difficult because in the national team we play a different system than here. But I think we have, when we come back for the national team, we have 1 week to be with the team again and be ready for Gary for what Gary wants.
We will continue with a question from Ian Sullivan with For Brabant Country.
Hey, Randall, what have you had a chance to learn about Red Bulls, and how are you preparing to face this team that you will see in a couple of days here?
Honestly, I just watched some videos this morning about them, and what we want to play against them. So honestly, I don't know too much about them, but it's good to do it well against them and win. It's the first time that we play against them, and it's good to make a good step in front of them.
We will go on with a question from Ben Wright with Broadway Sports.
Yeah, Randall, first of all, welcome back to Nashville. I was just wondering if you've had any conversations with national team coaches and with Nashville about potentially playing in the upcoming Gold Cup.
We don't know yet, because the national team is looking for a new coach, so we need to wait and see who will be the next coach for my country. So yeah, it's just waiting and see what's going to happen in the few weeks.
How does it feel to be returning to the club that gives you your debut?
Yeah, no, it's exciting for me. I have a lot of family there, a lot of friends there. So yeah, it's gonna be a new experience for me in my career. But at the end of the day, it's just a game, and the most important thing for me is that we get a win. I have a lot of great memories there, but as soon as the game starts, leave all that behind and focus on the task at hand, which is getting 3 points for Nashville.
Thank you, Alex. We will now open the floor for questions. Again, a reminder to let me through the chat if you have a question for Alex. And we will kick it off with Wes Pauling with ESPN.
Hey, Alex. Yeah, we hear players in your situation quite often say what you've said. You know, you're very professional in saying that you're going to treat it like any other game. But I do wonder, when you're on the pitch and you've got former teammates across from you, you've got family in the stands and fans who, you know, used to be on your side, now cheering against your team. Is it a situation where you can kind of harness that emotion? I mean, any natural feelings that you have, how do you use those feelings maybe to drive you forward versus letting them distract you and interfering with the thought process you have to play a logical game?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's hard to say even how I'm going to feel, obviously, because I've never done it before. But I think that, you know, naturally you feel extra pressure to maybe prove to people, like, look how great, how much in a good place I am, or, you know, look how great things are for me. And then if things maybe aren't going your way, that can start to eat at you and maybe get in your head. But I think for me, knowing that that's a possibility and knowing that, you know, no one's really thinking about you that much. No one's really like worried about you. That's all things in your own head. You know, these are things I've thought about. And, you know, to be honest with you, I think the only thing that really matters is that I'm enjoying myself and having fun. And I think that anyone who you know, who knew me and that, you know, maybe I want to show them I'm doing well, like if I'm having a good time, then I'm happy, then they see that, and that's all that matters. And I think that, you know, you get caught up in these outside things because really, you know, you get distracted by outside things more because you're not okay with yourself internally. So for me, it's just about being comfortable and being happy inside and knowing I'm in a place that I'm much happier and in a place that's good for me. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about. And finally, just being around my family is going to be such a great feeling. And, you know, to be playing in front of them again in these times this past year, it's been hard to play in front of family, obviously, because I haven't been able to travel. So that's going to be really nice for me.
Tienes su divan for club and country.
It kind of to that last part, and then some of the more logistical stuff. Was it weird when you guys played there last year, going to the visitors' locker room and things like that, not being able to look up and see your family? I don't think there were any fans at that game, but for this one, not seeing them in the home supporters section and all those sorts of things. What is kind of that, I guess, different reality to what you're used to from when you played for Red Bull?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's super strange to go into the visitors' locker room because it's a building that you know really well, but like from a different side. But yeah, no, it's obviously no one was there last year, but you know, these people watch every game anyway. I talk to them a lot, so being in front of them is going to be great. Being able to catch up with them after the game is going to be amazing. But you know, it's nothing too strange and nothing that I think is going to take me out of the element because, you know, these are people who watch every game, whether or not they're there, and they've actually been able to come down to Nashville and watch a game in person. So it's not too strange of an experience to have them in the stands.
Ray Fields with the Tennessean.
Yeah, Alex, and so much is going to be about obviously just coming into a familiar environment, but even just looking at the team itself, it just seems like obviously you were there for a while, but there was a bit of a changeover. Obviously, a bit of the midfield is different. Frankie Amaya is kind of in that midfield now. Obviously, Alo unfortunately won't be in the squad, and Sean Nealis will be back there. So it was like different changes, it seems, and then even the guys that you might be going up against, right, against like a Tolkien or Kyle Duncan, guys that you were used to going at in training. Now that you're kind of one-on-ones, is it weird looking at the team and seeing like, okay, I'm very familiar with Red Bulls, but there are some new faces, and then equally, are you able to maybe share what you do know about some of the familiar guys to some of your teammates?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, the team has changed a lot since I was there. Like, there's a lot of guys who are I mean, Aaron through injury, but then, you know, Brian White's gone now. Tim Parker got traded. Mark Shakovsky's not there. Kaku's not there. I mean, that's just the few that I can name off the top of my head. It's a really different team, and so for me, actually, the guys who are still there, we're such good friends. Like, we're so close that. You know, it's just going to be a pleasure to see them. And I'm going to be really happy to be around them and see them in person. And in terms of, you know, coming up against these players, yeah, I know them pretty well and they know me, but, you know, anything can happen in a game of football. And hopefully, you know, we come out on top. I think Red Bull Arena is not an easy place to come to and play. And, you know, there's going to be some players on our team who haven't played against Red Bull. And, you know, Red Bull loves to play against people them before because, they think that, they don't know what it's going to be like, how, the intensity and the kind of chaos of the game. But for me, I think we're a team that hopefully is set up well to go against it and that has prepared correctly for them.
Then right with today's final question.
Alex, this is a little bit similar to Drake's question, but I mean, obviously you're as familiar with kind of the Red Bull system as anyone. Do you feel like even with all the changes that kind of some of their philosophies of how to play are the same? And how do you kind of go about playing against a team like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Red Bull umbrella as a whole, you kind of know what they're about, like it's going to be up tempo. It's going to be fast paced. It's going to be not a lot of time on the ball. It's going to be a lot of pressing. Probably they're not going to have too much possession. They're going to want to catch you in possession. They want you to play through the middle of the field and turn you over and go straight to goal. And I think that's everyone kind of knows that about Red Bull. As each coach comes in, I had 2 coaches at Red Bull. There's little nuances and little things that they try and specifically focus on. So I'm not sure what this new manager, what he's focused on and what he's trying to bring. That's his own, kind of flavor. But I think we're gonna be, ready for the bigger picture, which is, what I described. And at home, especially, they look to get after teams. So that's something that we're gonna have to be prepared for.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you everybody for joining us today. We look forward to chatting with you after our match on Friday evening. Until then, have a lovely